You guys. Okay, so I haven't done a review in a while, and I just recently watched The Jackets, starring Adrian Brody and Keira Knightley. It's a 2005 film, distributed by Warner Brothers. Independent. I guess they have an independent section, which doesn't really surprise me too much. So this guy gets shot in the Gulf in Iraq in 1991 in the head, survives, and of course has amnesia. But this is the kicker for me. Okay, to explain the rest of the story before I really get into like the things that sort of bugged me. He survives. He's released after a year. Something happens along the way after he's released, and he's wrongfully accused of the death of a cop. Instead of being put in prison, he put in a mental institution for the criminally insane because he doesn't remember any of it. So he's shot in the head, lives, and is released a year later. Perfectly capable of walking, talking, all his bodily functions. The only real thing that happened after being shot in the head is amnesia. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, when you suffer a blow to the head, you risk amnesia, but being shot in the head is a bit more than just a regular old blow to the head. Along the way, he helps this little girl named Jackie and her drunken mother. Jackie snoops in his bag and asks for his dog tags. Then he hitches a ride. The dude gets pulled out of the car, and shoots the cop. Amidst all of it, our main character, Jack, played by Adrian Brody, hears the gunshot sound and has like this mini convulsion and falls to the ground and just completely passes out. And then he wakes up, the cop is dead, was shot 3 times, and the gun was found near him. Okay. I understand that in 1992, crime scene, forensics, things like that weren't that great still. But there's so many things in I'm not even a forensic specialist, a cop of any kind, but there's so many things wrong with this scene that would make any person with any brain go, that doesn't look right. The gun was wiped clean, yet found next to him, not dead body. Shot 3 times. He passed out on the first time. The dude moved closer to the cop to shoot him the other 2 times. Then wiped it clean and threw it on the ground next to Jack. If he shot the cop, why and how did he pass out if he was the only one there? And that's what, they were saying in the trial was, he was saying there was another person there, but he couldn't remember who. There was like, well, there's no evidence of that, okay. There was a car I don't think the guy took it. I can't remember. License plate number. Hold on. Secondly, there had to have been another person there. Why would he shoot a guy and then pass out? It doesn't make sense. What is he, narcoleptic? I've never heard of a narcoleptic murderer, you know? So, he can't remember. All he can remember is the two names of the girl and the girl's mother that he helped earlier that day. But he only knows the first names, not their last name. They even brought in military guys saying he was shot in the army. Good officer. He suffered a blow to the head. He received amnesia from that. He's lucky to be alive. That's why he can't remember anything. But no, instead, people didn't find enough useful evidence supporting him and his story. Instead, they're like, oh, you're just crazy because you can't remember. So we're gonna put you in a mental facility. That makes perfect sense. So he gets to the mental facility on the first day. This nurse and orderly, I'm guessing, come into his room in the middle of the night, pin him down, stick him with some sort of medication, and drag him to the basement, where one of the doctors proceeds to experiment on him to try and rejuvenate his mind. So he's put into a straitjacket and slid into morgue body compartment that you would see in a morgue. So it is probably not any bigger than an MRI scan. You know, if you've ever had an MRI, you're laying on the bed, you're lying there, you've got two straps barely holding you down, just keeping your arms inward, and you're stuffed into this small circular compartment. But he's stuck there for 12 hours. How does he go unnoticed? It showed before, the first day he was there, before he was nabbed in the middle of the night, the nurses would come in giving him specific rounds of medication. Wouldn't they notice he was missing? And this goes on. It carries on. Another doctor confronts the guy, the Dr. Becker, saying, "What have you done? What are you doing to him? Da 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 da." And he says, "I'm not doing anything." So apparently this has happened before. 3 times. Okay, so you have a new patient just abruptly disappear for 12 hours regularly. This doctor's been known to do that? Okay, well, first of all, why wasn't he fired or suspended or had his license revoked or anything of that nature? And now this is happening to the new patient and nobody's batting an eye? This is 1992, not 1962, you know? I mean, these it said in the movie that the experiment that he was doing was banned in the 1970s for being cruel. Yet here he is in 1992 doing that. Not very incognito, mind you. Don't you think something would happen to this doctor? It just doesn't make sense to me. Ugh. Anyways, while he's in there, he has flashes from the past that he can't really wrap his mind around. And he's taken to the future. So now this morgue compartment is a time machine? Well, anyways, he speaks to another guy who apparently has been through the same thing. And the guy says you go in there and you get the information that you need. And then you're done. The less you freak out, the less you'll black out. And I'm like, okay. Why was he taken to the future? If he's going in there to gain information that he needs. So he keeps going back because Jackie, little girl, has grown up into Keira Knightley. He discovers that he dies in January 1st of 1993. And keep in mind, this is the winter, December of 1992. So he's only got a matter of days. He convinces Keira to help him, and he's really Jack Starks, and blah blah blah. So they spend the next few days. He goes into the compartment, he gets transported to the future, he finds out little bits of information, gets busy with Keira Knightley. Yes, actually we do see some Keira Knightley tip. Not that she has a whole lot to show, but it's there. He finds out how he dies, finds out information about some random kid that the not so severe doctor was trying to help. It's just absolute ridiculous to me now that I think about it. Because in the end, he still dies. But they put him directly back into the jacket and into the compartment. So he gets transported to the future before he dies. In the process, before he dies, he begs the good doctor to take him, because the last trip that he took to the future, he asks for her address, Jackie's address, she lived at when she was a little girl, when they met. And she remembers it, like, perfectly. I don't. Well, maybe she hasn't lived in nearly as many places as I have, but good God. He gets the address, he writes this 3-page letter to Jackie's mom. And somehow, this woman who was like a total drunken buffoon believes these letters. Apparently, in the future, she died because she fell asleep with a cigarette in hand and burned alive. Which, you know, makes sense. Don't smoke, kids. Just avoid it altogether. So she puts out the cigarette. She goes to her daughter, kisses her, da-da-da-da. And when he's transported into the future, before he dies, we find out that she's working at a hospital now. Her mom's still alive, and they've got this amazing relationship. She has a Volkswagen Beetle now instead of some beat-up SUV from whatever. Because the future, it's 2007, by the way. There's so many things like how, why, if it was information he needed to know, how would he know that he was gonna die, and so he needed to be transported to the future? It doesn't make sense. And it can't be like the butterfly effect, because with the butterfly effect, there was a trigger mechanism. He had this letter, poem, spell, whatever you want to call it, and it moved him to these moments in time. Oh, God. The butterfly effect pissed me off. This movie makes me really angry, because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's really intense. The acting is really well done. The cinematography is really great. There's a portion at the beginning where it's like staticky and night vision and scopes and you have no idea what the hell is going on or what you're looking at, and you can't really hear anything that well because it's so staticky. And the vast majority of the beginning, it flickers and does this number, and a random image pop up, and you're just like sitting there going, what the fuck am I looking at? I admit it's quite a departure for Keira Knightley. She does an American accent very well. When her mother was still dead, she pretty much relived her mother's sad and pathetic life, and was a drunk. And Adrien Brody's really not a bad actor at times when he's, I don't know, it gives me a headache just thinking about it right now. Okay, I'm gonna end this. I will see you next time. I don't know if I want to say avoid this at all costs, or, you know what, if you want to find out for yourself, just watch it. Okay? Bye.